Hi, good morning, Daryl. So, you being the evangelist of the 4-day work week, which brings productivity in our lives, family, career development, a holistic approach. Let's delve into it. You shed some light to the audience about the 4-day work week.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, good morning, Antonio. Thanks for having me on. Yeah,
Welcome.
I like the way that you've introed that. It's pretty spot on. I think the benefits of the 4-day week are quite well documented. Um, I mean, it's worth me pointing out. I think the point is that it's mostly about productivity.
Hmm.
We live in a world where um, companies need to make money. Taxes need to be generated and paid, and so this is about looking at how we can energize a workforce, revitalize what we're doing to try to get the best out of people, really.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, to the benefit of everybody. And so that's kind of what I'm doing. I am an evangelist, but also a deployment specialist. So
Yeah.
uh, I help companies, make sure that the productivity levels improve as they go with the 4-day week inception.
And I love the idea because, me being in sales, not every day, you want to go out on the trade to sell. If it is now I'm able out of my 5 days to be able to have one day for myself, I now trying to be that great sales professional could, relax at home with the comfort of my family and, delve into some books, some audio files and, gain that knowledge on sales in a holistic way. So
Yeah.
when now I go out on the trade, in the beginning of the 4-day work week, I become more productive because for that one day that I take for myself, being around my family, that family support, that I'm getting being home, I will, go into these materials and try to understand sales much better, the psychology aspect, the technological aspect, because the two that combine together, makes you that great individual. So
Yeah.
I would say that I'm an advocate for the 4-day work week. It's awesome. And companies, I know they're on productivity, yes, but think about it. If your worker get a day for themselves to rejuvenate, to get that quality time with their loved ones, their family, and so forth, they will be more productive in terms of their job. Just let's sit and think about it for 1 minute, and
Mm.
then we will be able to understand where exactly you and I are coming from on this topic.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, I love the word holistically. I think it's really appropriate in that traditionally, from a sales point of view, sales is
Hmm.
generally one of those areas of business where people say that couldn't work with a 4-day week, right? We
Yeah.
need people we need people at their desks hitting the phones or beating the
Hmm.
street or whatever it is, and time is the measure there. And you're right, like people do get tired that sales
Yeah.
is a high pressure environment, right? And
Hmm.
so um, you know having that rest, having that 3-day weekend, right, where you can take care of tasks, you can look after the family, you can do things or learn new skills. It does help you as a person, right, to
Hmm.
kind of then go into your job revitalized, right, and
Yeah.
hit hard, and so then it turns into a bit of a sprint. So if you know that you're working for 4 days, right, and you've got that 3-day weekend, right, which I think a 3-day weekend everyone would agree is a fantastic. If you
So
know
true.
you put in the effort, right, you step up because
Hmm.
because there's that payoff, and so yeah, I mean, I think that the angle that you're coming at is absolutely right. But traditionally, it's quite I mean, I'm going to say testosterone fueled, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's a very bravado kind of mindset, right? Like, I got in this morning at 7 o'clock. I didn't leave till 8 o'clock last night. There's that
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, I'm going to race you to burnout. What? Like, I'm not going to race you there. Crazy, but so and there is this kind of like this mentality which has been fostered by
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but it's. I think we're reaching an interesting point in time, especially with the pandemic, where people are tired, people are anxious. That stress that gets applied doesn't result in productivity or profit as it
Yeah.
might have done in the past, because the amount of stresses that people are under have increased. So yeah, it does. It's going to take that mindset,
Mm-hmm.
that change to for people to kind of get on board.
And I would like to highlight this comment from Catherine De Freitas. This is also applicable in my current field, and I'm experiencing this now.
Right. So is Catherine is working a 4-day week. That's how I'm.
Yeah, so she now I put here that 4-day work week is fantastic. So she's experiencing a 4-day work week at a company. I believe she's working out of China, and she is a citizen of Sweet T&T, Trinidad and
Okay.
Tobago. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's. I mean, it's great. I think more and more companies are getting on board, right? For different reasons. We work a 5-day week because, in part, because of the work that Henry Ford did
Mm-hmm.
in changing the Ford Auto manufacturing process from 6 days to 5, and he recognised that giving people a weekend, giving them more rest, giving them time with their family, giving them more time to go out and buy cars, right? If you've got
Mm-hmm.
that extra day that, oh, well, I'll go to a showroom, right? So there was that, and then there was also the talent aspect. The Ford organization was growing exponentially, and they needed to attract talent and retain what they had. And the brain drain that happened in the rest of the automotive industry for people going to Ford meant that their competitors then had to follow
Yeah.
suit. So
Mm-hmm.
I think what's likely to happen here is that there is going to be something similar. Unilever, are trialing a 4-day work week in New Zealand, which by all accounts is fantastic. They were a month in, and their CEO said we're unlikely to ever go back to 5 days. So a ringing endorsement after such a short period of time. But also, like I'm speaking to other people, business leaders on LinkedIn, who are starting their companies as a 4-day week
Mm-hmm.
in order to attract talent. And I just I feel that's it's such a positive thing, but they really are on the right track, because I think, again, looking at the period of time that we're occupying,
Mm-hmm.
the last 20s was post-war, post-pandemic, and people wanted their freedom back. They wanted to travel,
Yeah.
they wanted to go on holiday, they wanted a party, get close to each other again. And I think that's going to happen, and I think there's going to be an expectation by people that the job that they occupy has freedom, and they'll move to those, or
Mm-hmm. And especially in this global pandemic that we're facing right now, you need that 4-day work week, because being at home, it is stressful, not knowing that you can't go outdoors. You want to know to yourself that, all right, if it is I working at home, I don't have to work 5 days, I could work 4, and the other,
yes.
3 days, I could relax myself and be at ease. We need that time for ourselves, because at the end of the day, the body is just like a vehicle. When it is you put engine oil in your vehicle, it works efficiently. And
Yeah.
when after you go a certain mileage in the vehicle, the engine oil tends to get thin, burned out, and the car don't function as properly how it's as normally supposed to be. So same as your body, so you need that energy within. And if it is that energy is burnt out, how will you be able to function effectively? So we need that 4-day work week. We need it.
We
It's not
do.
our want. Yeah.
We do, but I guess, we also need business leaders to recognize, they have, these cars, with tainted oil, right? Like, so it isn't just you taking care of yourself, right? Because you can't just say to your boss, like, "Hey, do you know what? I'm going to do 4 days from now on because I'm tired." It's going to, well, no, that's not the contract, right? So I think, like, there needs to be some responsibility taken, I guess. But absolutely, like, the productivity that comes out of fresh rested, is unquestionable, and also creativity. And from a sales point of view, when you're looking at pitching people, there are a selection of pitches that you'd use, or ways to approach people. Sales is about relationship building and standing out, catching that person, making having that idea that will spark, right? Like that will engage that sales process. And so, and rested people are more creative. That's proven too. So, not only would you go back into, that work week invigorated, but you're taking ideas there as well. So, like, there's like a it's productivity plus, which is really exciting.
Yes, correct, is right. And in sales is all about that, as you rightfully say, that spark, that communication with a person. So sales is selling to person to person. Like some people thinking that, with the AI, with the robotics invention, that, the robotics will take over sales. But no, how could you interact with a robot? It will never be genuine, so you will always have that human to human element in sales. And I will tell any sales professional right now, don't worry yourself. In the near future, a robot is not going to take away your job. You will always you will always need that human to human element, because a robot program just to basically answer your questions, and they can't give you that genuine answer. They would not go against the company. Not saying that a salesperson will go against the company, but you have to give a prospect a genuine reply. They can't just get them like based on a company aspect. You have to be like, okay, our product is good, yes, but so, and if it is you're interested in something else, we have a substitute or these kind of thing. But a robot, built not to say something like that. They just built just to sell that particular product. They're not going and give you a substitute product or give you a substitute answer. So
yeah, and they get found out. I don't. It never takes too long to kind of work out that you're talking to an algorithm. I don't know how many. It's possible that I think that robots would be able to possibly start a conversation, but I think but eventually, like, hang on a minute. I remember I always used to this is a long time ago, I used to get hit by automated bots on Skype back in the day. And I wasn't quite sure who if it was a robot or not, and so I used to ask them a question about a badger, just randomly, because the algorithm was never quite sure what a badger was, and so if they then didn't reply, asking me why I'd mentioned a badger, then I kind of knew. But obviously, they're a lot more sophisticated now than they were. But I mean, yeah.
And we talked about the pros of the 4-day work week, but that's basically button it up. Let's talk about the cons with the 4-day work week, because it must have pros and cons in anything. That.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there are definitely industries where it doesn't fit necessarily. I mean, the army, for instance, or you're looking at hospital or healthcare, teaching as well.
Mm-hmm.
There are some areas that it's ingrained. But that said, I do believe that it just takes the bravery of mindset, right? Do I think that kids would benefit from 4-day schooling?
Yeah.
I think they would, right? I'm not saying that they should go and play the Xbox on the 5th day, right? We could probably kind of arrange some kind of like community outreach, right? Like, they go to see, a farm or, or something like that. But, I do think that we could start there, right? And it wouldn't just benefit the kids, but there is a very high level of stress amongst teachers. The long-term and short-term sickness is quite high in education, to be honest, as well as healthcare. So, looking at the hours that nurses, doctors do,
that's so true.
It's a really tough job, and so they work incredibly long hours, right? So, so even when you look at the industries that it doesn't immediately feel like it will fit, it's only because of our perception, and then actually a brave decision, right, by a strong leader, right, to kind of reimagine what it looks like, could change things, right? And I do genuinely think that's inevitable. On the flip side, then we've also got customer service, right, which is a much broader, wider umbrella where companies have made themselves available. Let's go to the extreme, right? 24 hours a day, 365 days of the year, right? Well, then it's a numbers game, right? It's right. We have calculated the amount of people that we need in order to deliver a predefined level of service. So, we want a call answered within 20 seconds, right? We want an email answered within 3 hours. Chat answered within 60 seconds, right? So there are there will be existing agreed levels of service, right? And so based on that, looking at you then work out the amount of people that you need, right? So in order to retain staff, right, increase, right, because it is about increasing productivity, but in customer services the churn is quite high, and so if you want to retain good staff, then you'd be looking at the productivity that, right? So then you could tweak it, right? So, it isn't just throwing money at it, right? Because you wouldn't, if you are going to maintain that 24-hour 365 service, right, then they're still going to need people there. And so, yes, obviously, you could employ more people, right? But that isn't practical for everybody. However, looking at the systems that you're using, looking at what is the most effective, are we achieving, first time resolution, right, on incoming contacts? Are we, what is our CSAT, right? How satisfied are people with the process? So there are ways that we can look at the way that a solution is delivered in order to reduce that, right? So then the exposure to a change in a 4-day week isn't so dramatic. To use simple numbers, if you're going to a 4-day week, you're reducing availability of staff by 20%, right? The knock-on argument is then, well, if I'm losing 20% of my staff, that means my service level's dropping by 20%, right? Well, no, right? Unless you are operating at maximum efficiency, right, and you've got a 96%, CSAT, then there is room, to kind of to minimize that. And again, the benefits are that you're going to have an engaged team, right, who are working hard for you because you've just given them a 3-day weekend, and they're going to work hard to keep that, right?
Yes.
And they're going to stay with you. They're going to be proud, and they'll talk about it. You know, when someone, where do you work? Oh, I work for X, X, and X, and they, yeah, I got a 3-day weekend. I work for them for them. Wow, really? That's amazing. Yeah. So
And
yeah.
and you know, some companies have the interpretation that a lot of people want jobs. So they know, like, if you don't want to work the 5 day week, they will get someone to work it because they know that, you know, due to the pandemic, a lot of individuals lost their jobs, a lot of people looking for jobs.
Yeah.
And that is so, you know, detrimental to their business because what they don't understand, if it is in your business, you have a high turnover,
Yes.
then your productivity level will lower. And when that happens, you would not be able to generate the profit to carry your business from one level to the next. So when you want to understand like what going on, how my business is not being scalable, is because you're not treating your employees good. You have one branch, let's say in IT industry, and you know you're just stagnant. You want to get maybe 2 or 3 branches elsewhere. But if you have a high turnover of staff, that means you know you would not have skilled workers because as one come, they go. So you would not reach nowhere as a company owner. So companies have to understand that it is very negative on their business by having a high turnover because when potential candidates want to apply for this particular job in the company, they will hear from other persons who work in the company that, hear what, do not bother to come here. I'm now looking to leave here to go to other company because they do not treat their
Mm,
workers good. And then a next thing too is that with the 4 day work week, some companies now might normally you work 8 to 4, 8 hours a day. Some companies might want to say, well, all right, so you want us to implement the 4 day work week. Well, here what? You're coming
mm,
to work 8 o'clock and you're finishing 6 every day. So they basically trying to maximize this 4 day work week. So when Friday, Saturday, Sunday come now, you have the enough time to rejuvenate yourself. So, you
mm,
know, we're just touching on the pros and the cons, but these 2 aspects that I now brought up is cons that companies now could try to implement, you know, so that they will feel that, you know, all right, I'm getting productivity out of this 4 day work week because if a lot of companies implementing the 4 day work week, you know, other companies now will want to follow suit, but they will want to follow suit in such a way that within that 4 day work week, they get maximum productivity.
yeah. What you made an interesting point at the beginning there about you know, the cost of having to replace staff. Right now, I don't
Hmm.
think I've worked for a company that truly measured that. You know, I mean,
Hmm.
beyond the cost that you'd be paying you know, a recruitment company. You know, so you've got that 10 to 15% of their salary, right? Whatever it is, right? But that isn't that's not the whole picture. You know, when you lose people, you know, if they're leaving because they're unhappy, then you know they may have, you know, affected the morale of other people. You know, they're going to be leaving with all of that experience. The people that are left are going to have to probably be picking up some of their work. So there's a little bit of resentment there. And then you've got to find someone, you know, managers have to spend time, you know, pouring through CVs, doing, you know, first, second, third stage interviews. Um, and then, you know, and then wait for that person
Hmm.
to finish, you know, their position until they can start. You know, you've got to like clean all the computers, right? I don't mean like disinfect, right? I mean, you know, like prep them. Well, you've got to disinfect them as well, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
these days, and then you're on board, right? And so then you've got to, you know, then go through training. You know, you have to
Hmm.
find somebody to sort of, you know, help them with the training, or you know, send them. So like, you know, the actual cost of bringing on new staff is high. Like, I mean, it's you know, I heard it said that it's around about 30%, right, of what
Oh.
the salary could be, right? So
Hmm.
depending on, you know, on what level of seniority it is. I mean, we could be, you know, you're talking significant numbers, and if you
Hmm.
know, if you're, you know, if you're losing a few people a year, right? Well, then, I mean, you're in the 20, 30, 40, 50, $60,000 or pounds a year just maintaining a staffing level, right? That's outside of general recruitment drive. So that is a really it's a really significant driver as well. But then we're talking about benefits, right? So obviously a 4-day week is a stunning benefit, right? But from my point of view, like, and from what I've seen, right, it brings parity, right? It brings it enhances the relationship between the leadership team and the staff, because it enables a much more adult conversation, right? Like, we'll give you a 3-day weekend, and in return, these are the levels of service that we expect, right? This is the output that we expect from you, right? We're now saying, like, we don't want you here 9 till 5, Monday to Friday anymore. Like, that's archaic, right? What we want, though, is the same level of out. We want this level of output from you. And you can, okay, do you know what? That's fair, right? And I'll do that, and you give me this. And it levels it, rather than at the moment, I think traditionally a lot of it's an adult-child sort of relationship where so it levels it.
And the thing about it, as you rightfully said, in terms of bringing on staff, it's a high cost. But what a company getting out of bringing on staff at a high cost when you're supposed to grow your business? So when it have a high turnover and individuals have to be coming in and out, then after, you wasting time as a business owner, because what you basically growing, you're not planting nothing. You have to basically plant before you reap. So when business owners feel that, all right, a lot of people right now want jobs, and if it is that you don't want the job after a month, I will hire someone else. But when you do your accounting aspect, you will realize that, here, what, I am spending more money than earning. So you running at a deficit. So it's not making any sense.
Yeah. Well, you were going to say it, you reap what you sow. I mean, if you sow trust, if you sow respect, if you sow loyalty, right, then you get to reap that, right? Like that is how your teams will flourish, right? That's how they'll grow. And that's then how one would hope that they would then treat their people as they become managers, and so it goes, right? So you're absolutely right. I mean, like, this movement right now, like, it benefits from grassroots level engagement, right? So, like, private companies taking this step to engage their teams, right? Like, it isn't a kind of like that, like someone saying, right, this is what we're going to do, right? So the way that the best companies have got the best out of the 4-day week is involving the teams in what it looks like, the processes that need changing, the service level, the targets that you have, right? And so I mean, if you have that idea about those are the that's the kind of team that you want, and you sow that trust, then that's what you'll get back.
Correct. And I would like to highlight this comment here. It is not ingenious to work as more days. It is not important. It is important to work efficiently. Even 4 days of work is enough. If there's enough planned work, So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that when we look at how managers assess performance, right, against targets, right, it's never time based, right? It's never like, were you here 9 till 5 Monday to Friday, right? It's always what have you achieved, right? Like, you've achieved this level of sales, right? You've got this much in your pipeline, you've called this many people, right? So it's all about output, right? So why shouldn't the structure of work be about output? The fact that we put time around it is archaic. I mean, once a clock was invented, however many 600 years ago, whatever it was, then it was like, oh, hang on, I've got an idea. We can make people work to that. When the big hand's there and the little hand's here, you can go home, right? But work isn't like that anymore. It's fundamentally changed, and so yeah.
Yeah, it's real intriguing. It's different. Companies feel that when I tell a worker to work 8 hours a day, even come out on a Saturday, that yes, I'm getting full productivity and I'm paying this worker for 5 days when this worker paying 6 days. But you're not understanding the stress that they're putting on this individual. The individual come into your organization. Remember now, people buy into the individual. So let's say into sales, they buy into the individual and not the products or services. So when this person now decide to leave your company now, you realize that you have a decline in sales because they was buying into that person, because that person was building genuine relationships with the customers. So in a nutshell, you may have to recall this person to come to the company because you realize that this person going and sales has dropped drastically. So when a company feel that they're getting maximum productivity by making a worker work numerous hours per day for like 6 days for the week, it is not good. It's not even healthy on that individual aspect. So that is something that we have to put a big X by. Companies can be ill-treating individuals like that.
No.
And worse yet, women who have their children to go home to. So it's disheartening.
I mean, and that's actually an interesting point as well. The amount of unpaid work that women do in terms of maintaining a household or looking after kids, support relatives and family, right? I mean, is it's there's so much, right? And so a 4-day week, a byproduct of the 4-day week. Because it's about productivity, right? But a byproduct of that is that it balances that social dynamic a little bit more and takes it alleviates some of the stress from women. But you reminded me of another an interesting point is that India have a 48-hour week like enshrined in law, but they've recently taken a step to sort of say actually we're behind the 4-day work week movement. But we're not changing the 48-hour week thing, right? So in India, 4-day weeks are available, but you have to do 12 hours a day.
Whoa, that's tough.
That's tough. Right? And the average commute in India is 90 minutes. So that's a 15-hour day, right? And on that 5th day, you are sleeping.
Yeah.
So like they were so close, right? They've kind of like they've got it. They just need to just go that step.
A little fine tuning.
Yeah, just take 12 of those hours off, man. Like come on. But anyway, so like it's funny that if I'm honest, and I've heard this said by the guy who got me into this is a guy called Andrew Barnes. He's the CEO of a company in New Zealand called Perpetual Guardian. He read an article in the Independent about productivity and how low it was. So we're looking at the average productivity for someone in the UK is about an hour and a half a day, right? In Australia, I think it was 2 hours. In New Zealand, in Canada, it was even. Anyway, it was very, very low. And so he thought to himself, well, if that's real, right, and that's happening in my company, then I actually only need another couple of hours, right, out of my team in order for them to have the same output in 4 days as they do in 5.
Yeah.
So he went to his board and trialed it. at first didn't think that he was being serious, but anyway, he got people involved from the local university, and they created a white paper, and that was pretty much what started most of the momentum behind this. And I read the book that he made, and I was consulting at that point and just helping companies become more efficient. I liked his message and paired the two. I knew that I believe in the 4-day work week, and I've got the skills in order to help people, so I put them together. But one of the things that he says, which is quite interesting, is that the 4-day week is clickbait, right? Like it's a conversation. What it actually is flexible working, right? So a 3-day weekend, or a Friday or a Monday off is great, right? But in organizations where that doesn't always work, well, you can do 2 afternoons a week, for instance, or 6-hour days, or so like the conversation really is about flexibility. It's about giving people that time to just do their thing, recharge, get stuff done, right? And just equalize, so that then they can be better and be more productive and be more valuable to the company, right?
Yeah.
And so that's that the reality is that what we're really talking about is companies being flexible, as much as like you have to take, you have to give everyone Friday off, because as you sort of pointed out, when you've got a good salesperson who is there for his clients, and he's generating sales, he doesn't want to not be there on a day when a contract comes in, right? So like his flexibility, can you pick up the phone? Well, of course you can pick up the phone, right? Can you also tell your clients, I work for a company that offers a 4-day week setup. In my experience, clients have always gone, all right, I like that. Wish my boss had that. Like there's always respect for it, right? And I think in digital marketing circumstances where something in the world happens live, Weetabix have got this brand new marketing campaign, and actually all the other brands need to jump on this, right? And they need to put something out. Well, of course, you get involved, right? It's not that the doors are shut, that everything's down and the phone's off the hook. Like there are ways of making it work so that it isn't to the detriment of
I have this valuable question here from Gil. It's the way it has always been, typical 9 to 5. But in today's day and age, we have to take in account the single parent home, etc. The dynamics has changed, gives companies the competitive edge, attracts more candidates due to the flexibility. Lovely, lovely comment here from Gail.
It really is.
Yes.
I mean, Gail, I too am a single parent. I mean, I think I can prove it. I think I've got like paints here and a dolly, right? I mean, I mean, yeah, my girl's going to be 4 next month, and so it really is important, like to kind of help people, right? And I think one of the interesting things about single parents, mothers especially, is their organizational skills. I mean, they are incredibly valuable asset to the workforce. They are so organized, right? When you look at a work day and you think, right, I've got all of this stuff to do. No one can pick what is important faster than a single mum. Right, because efficiency is, getting stuff done is important, right? And when you've got 1, 2, 3 kids who they're all in separate states of the cushions are coming off the chair, one of them needs to get dressed, there's one in the shower, and so like working out like how to maintain and how to keep a calm household, right? Like gives enormous amount of skills, but then also stress, right? And so it needs to be rewarded, right? Because yes, I think that single parents, mothers especially, right, are particularly valuable assets.
And this next comment here, Why do people who own a company want their staff to work more days? It's so
Well,
true.
yeah. I mean, I think is the answer greed? I don't know. I mean, or is it just, maybe that's unfair. Maybe it's just tradition. I think
It's tradition.
I
Yeah, they think that is more productive, by the staff working, more days. They think that they will get more productivity, not knowing that they don't care about, a company really don't care about their workers. It have companies that do care, but a company care about survival. They care about,
yeah,
being existence,
yeah,
for a very long time.
yeah. When push comes
So
to shove, yeah.
correct.
And I think that's interesting, and I guess we're in a sort of we're in this time where the balance of power is shifting a little bit,
Hmm.
and it's my hope, right, that what the people want, right, and what the people need, right, is able to be kind of considered as a valuable vehicle to productivity. It's the carrot stick thing, isn't it? Right? Like,
Hmm.
I think if you work 6 days a week, right, then because you are there and you're at your table and making more calls, and that means that you're going to drive more sales because bang, 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 I'm making you do it, right? Rather than
Yeah.
like, here's the target, right, and now manage yourself in order to kind of deliver on that. All of a sudden, right? Like, it's the way that you look at stuff has changed, right? Like,
Hmm.
it's a lot more. You're not dictating, right? Like, you're not. You're kind of having a conversation, and you're saying, right, look, this. Love what you do. I'm glad you're working for us, right? I've employed you because I trust you, because I respect you, because you've got the skills, right? This is what I want. Go and do it. If you get it
Hmm.
done in 4 days, then you can have that fifth day off. There are companies, right, that have a 4-day week policy, right, but the fifth day has to be qualified, right? Like, you have to reach that point, and then you can have it, right?
Yeah.
So again, this is that there's shades of grey, right, in terms of like what a 4-day week looks like. There's different, there's lots of different variations on the theme, but what underpins it all is that trust that you're giving to the staff to sort of say, right, this is yours, own it. You perform, you give us what we need, and then you get your day.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's fair, right? I think it's
Yeah, it's fair.
yeah.
And the thing about it also too is that working from home and a 4-day work week, it is great. Some companies, like how some countries, the restrictions, they don't have no more restrictions uplifted. They now telling your workers, all right, you was working from home all the time. You can come back in the office. But think about this. If it is that, a worker have the proper connection, living in a home where it's very peaceful and quiet, and you actually, do some data research and realize, well, when this particular worker was working from home, the productivity went up, to a high percentage than when they was working in the office. So we have to watch the data and know what working for us and what not working for us. So some companies now, yes, in some countries the restrictions uplifted, but if the worker is performing well at home, why now want to transfer them back to the office?
I mean, that's an interesting one, and I think that conversation is going to go on for a while. I mean, I believe that everyone's in a different situation. I think there's some people that love working from home, because of that space. Maybe their commute was an hour and a half or 2 hours, maybe, right, and like they don't want to get back on that. But then other people, need the camaraderie, right? The banter that comes with an office. Some people are in difficult relationships, which work can be a sanctity. So I think Again, I think if the theme of this really is flexibility, like the 4-day week, I think where people operate from should be flexible. Um, you know, I think based on circumstances,
Hmm.
what this is going to do though is kind of show up, bad managers potentially, because
Yes.
if we do return to the workplace, right, and it's inevitable, right, like to some degree, is that if a working from home request gets submitted, right, and not just like next Thursday I'd like to work from home. It's like, well, actually next week I'd like to work from home. There is
Hmm.
there is no reason that could be rejected, right, and it would only be rejected for a reason that is not really valid, and so then it
Yeah.
questions, and then that affects the morale of the person, and that spreads around. Oh, look, Bob, asked for that and he didn't get it. Well, why not? Well, you're working from home for 18 months, right? So
Hmm.
then I think it is going to be difficult. On the plus side, though, I guess it sort of opens up the global employment opportunities, because in the past, where people looked within maybe a 30-mile radius, right,
Hmm.
for talent, well, kind of now has proved that. I mean, if you've been able to successfully operate remotely, then you could potentially hire further afield, right, and
Hmm.
maintain a remote workforce, right? So I think that's something that's going to increase as well. I think.
Yeah, that is so true because um, the the technology that is available right now, for example, look, you and I, we are communicating with each other,
Mm,
and internet not dropping anything like that, good connection on both ends. So we can communicate. Let's say we're working together, we can communicate, discuss how work has been so far, what productive things that I've done, if I have any strategies to implement in the company. So working remotely right now is not of a problem. It's all about you having the right setup in your,
absolutely.
in your home and everything. So I seen that companies now will have a hard challenge in finding talent because potential candidates are not limited. They can reach out to the global workforce to obtain opportunities, and they have opportunities all over the world that you can work remotely. And
Yeah.
some great companies that we always watching on maybe on the television or the internet, like Amazon, eBay. It have many companies,
Mm,
Cisco, that offering this remote work for individuals all over the world and paying, a great package.
yeah.
So companies have to understand now that potential candidates are not limited to a
Mm.
certain demographic. We thinking global and companies are expanding. I'd have great companies who have great ideas to implement in the near future.
Yeah, 100%. I think if you're in any kind of like system architecture kind of skills right now, then you're going to be a very wanted person. Because you're right.
Hmm.
If the infrastructure is in place, then you can operate, and recruit from anywhere. I mean, when I look at what I do and how that would, I guess the way that the technology has kind of helped me is, the things that I would do is have meetings with people. Okay,
Hmm.
right, well, Zoom, right? I'd give presentations to groups of people. Okay, again, Zoom or has that kind of functionality. Looking at the systems that people use, the workflows that they go through. Okay, well, people can screen share, right? So then you can get an idea of the system. So in order of like capturing information and sort of and then delivering upon it, like even from a consultant's point of view, which is would have been exclusively really face to face in the past, especially the McKinseys and all the big fours, right?
Hmm.
It's all about face to face, and even and now we are all managing or realizing, right, that actually the technology it doesn't need to be designed. It was always there,
Hmm.
right? to actually do this job online, and it's helped massively. It's kind of it's that push, it's that like. And I think a lot of companies are like, oh no, we couldn't possibly work from home, right? No, we need you in the office. Like, it's like, okay, well, you need me in the office because you want me productive, or you just want to see me here, right? But it's kind of like, now that push has happened, and it's like, all right, now I need to find the tools. How do I do my job? And like, oh, do you know what? I've got all the tools, right? I mean, the screen sharing thing is really useful, right? Because
yes.
I mean, a big thing about the process mapping that I do for helping look at productivity. It's important for me to see that the path that data travels along, right? And that's something that I can do. So like the tools are there, right? And I don't think that the genie's going to go back in the bottle here. It's done, but I do think that there's going to be a lot more flexibility, and I think the cities are going to change. Significantly. I don't think. I mean, some of the people I've spoken to, some MDs and some CEOs recently, whose tenancy agreements in offices in London expire. Or run out this year, and they're not renewing, because why would you? Like, I mean, the overhead, the capital expenditure on
very high
on London property is astronomical, right? And so about having shareable office spaces, the WeWork, the kind of stuff. So it is going to be big, but from a 4-day week point of view. Transitioning a little bit back to that is that when you've got companies that are working remotely, right, and let's not say that it's a global workforce, let's still say that it's kind of regional, right? One of the advantages of the 4-day week is that it opens up opportunities for training. So
yes, correct,
you can have it in the contract, right, that it's a 4-day week, for instance, right? But occasionally, twice a year, those Fridays will be used for training, or in the summer and at Christmas, we'll have a work get together, right? So out of the 48 workable Fridays, for instance, then maybe 4 or 8 of them, depending, right, would be kind of used by the company to help, right? And that's generally a fair thing, because at the moment, if there is training that needs to happen, then everyone has to turn the phones off, right? So, that's another advantage.
Yeah, because for me, if I know to myself, I working for a company for 4 days for the week, I giving them maximum productivity, because I know to myself, when Thursday come, that is the last day for the week, I am going to give everything, and even the days previously, but I know I have Friday, Saturday, Sunday for myself. Even if I want to, let's say, go to other island or somewhere, I could leave Thursday evening and be able to come back Sunday evening and spend basically 3 days vacation. So 3 days is basically some vacation packages, all-inclusive packages is be sometimes 3 days package. So it come like, you getting 3 days for yourself to do whatever it is you want to do. If it's to go on a mini vacation, spend time with the family, do your personal training, rejuvenate yourself, what can an employee ask for more? That's it in a nutshell. It's great.
And that's an interesting, so actually it's an interesting thing that you've touched on there, because that's almost one of the economic benefits as well, like for a country, right? Because what we see from bank holidays, right, is that during a bank holiday, which is the sort of traditional 3-day weekend, is that people travel further, right? Because they have the time, right, and they travel further and then they spend more. Right. So there was a study that I saw not long ago that said that online shopping aside, people spend 70% of their disposable income within a 30-mile radius. right? But on bank holiday weekends, like that increases to 60 miles, right? Because people travel a little bit further. They might go to relatives, or they go to the beach or whatever, right? So if you're looking at like kind of like an economic rejuvenation, right? Well, when you've got more 3-day weekends, then that means that there will be more people around the country that will be going further and spending more.
Correct.
Exactly what we need right now. Right. So that's that's again, like, it's just another one of those benefits, right? That to the 4-day week.
Yeah, so it is basically, the economy, the global economy, in terms of, tourism can be uplifted, because as you rightfully said, bank holidays, people travel from the 30-mile radius to 60-mile radius. So that means now is more money being put into the economy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And which then, puts money back into the tax coffers, which means that the deficit gets reduced. I mean, yeah, so it's all really positive. And at the same time, obviously that travel is relaxing people, hopefully, as long as they don't spend it stuck in traffic, which actually would reduce, because I guess traditionally in England, bank holiday weekends are particularly bad for traffic. But if every weekend was a 3-day weekend for everybody, I mean, I'm in dream world here, right? So bear with me. Then I guess, then the traffic would spread out and it wouldn't be so bad. But no, one
True.
day.
So in closing, Daryl, I just want to highlight this comment here. We really have to know the value of time. Every second counts, because we can't bring back the elapsed time. We have to make good use of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, this is the thing. Like, all bosses know that their teams, their people aren't productive 100% of the time, right? Everyone's got an app on their phone that draws their attention. Like, that you go in, you check an update, you check a message, you check the news update, and so everyone's got that thing that kind of draws them away, and so I think another interesting part of the 4-day week is it opens up that conversation. It allows you to have that conversation with like, look, how do we make ourselves more productive? How do we make ourselves more efficient? What parts of your day would you eliminate to make a 4-day work week work, right? And it's that recognition that time is important, and that making good use of it means that you'll get better quality time at the end of the week.
Correct. Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah. So it was very great talking about this 4-day work week, which is something that I would stress on. A lot of companies should think about implementing. Sit down with your managers, sit down with the board of directors and discuss it, because at the end of the day, it's all about productivity. It's all about taking your business from one point, which might be point A, to carry to point D. So if implementing a 4-day work week making sense, if you want to even do, a data research on it to find out if it makes more sense than a 5-day work week, do it, because every company wants to grow. That is the main agenda, and you want survival.
Absolutely. Yeah, it really is. And it is always worth that conversation. And, and if anybody that is watching is interested, then, you can always contact me, and I can sort of, help with a trial, right? Or at least provide you with the structure that would provide you with the data to make a decision. I mean, it's been great. And thanks for having me on, Antonio. It's been a pleasure. Enjoyed it.
Same here.
Yeah.
Same here.
Yeah, you're doing good work. I let you know, and I think that the holistic improvements that we make to our lives are not inconsequential, right? They make a difference, right?
Yeah, for sure.
To us and to industry, right? Capitalism works to a point, and so yeah, I think happy people work harder.
Yes, correct. Happy people does work harder. That could be a nice slogan. Happy people works harder.
Yeah, t-shirt.
Well, you have a great one.
You
It was
too.
nice here.
All right, all the best.
Okay. Thanks. Same to you.
Ciao.